This is a review of an accessory for a turntable. In this particular case, it's a platter mat. In relative terms, this one is not exactly low cost. In fact, it costs £115. It's been created by an engineer based in Budapest in Hungary, and the company he's formed is called Hexmat, and his name is about to be butchered by my terrible pronunciation, but I'll give it a go anyway. I would say Zolt Fat. I'm going to print it below. That's probably the completely wrong way of saying it, and I apologize sincerely to the man himself and all his relations and the previous generations that came before him. Zolt Fat? Probably not. Anyway, Zolt, my apologies. Nevertheless, this is an intriguing accessory. It's called the Yellow Bird, and it's a hexagonal platter mat. Now, like anything in hi-fi, everything matters. When I say everything matters, I mean every single part of your hi-fi, inside and out, will have some sort of effect, greater or lesser, on the final sound quality. Everything changes the sound quality. Now, on the turntable itself, well, that includes the big bits like the plinth and the platter and the tone arm and the cartridge, but it also means things like the feet, and it means things like whether you attach a lid to your turntable or not, and it also includes things like the cables coming out at the back, and of course it also means the platter mat. Now, why would you want to change the platter mat at all? After all, it's been supplied by the manufacturer, and the manufacturer knows what they're doing, don't they? And if they would have wanted to include a superior mat, I'm sure they would. Isn't that the case? Well, not really, no, because often the platter mat is the last thing on their list. It's the last thing they're thinking about. Why is that? Well, turntables are often built to a price, and if you're going to build a turntable to, I don't know, £350 in price, for example, then that's your target point. You then go out and you design yourself a turntable to that price. So that also means the price and the quality of the parts. Now, if you're going to produce a turntable, stands to reason you're going to go and concentrate a little bit more on the big bits, the more significant bits, things like the plinth and the platter and the arm and the cartridge, if one is included. For example, things like platter mats, they tend to get short shrift. They're placed way at the bottom of the list, and well, if there's any loose change jingling around at the bottom of the designer's pocket, maybe we'll use the rest of that to get a platter mat. But often platter mats are not super high priority, and that's the reason why platter mats are normally ideal for upgrading. This is why it's always a good idea to survey any new turntable and then to ask yourself, just how good is this bit? And this? And what about that over there? The core of your new turntable should be fine, but it's the accessories that might be rather suspect. If you want to maximize the performance of your turntable, enhancing the quality of these accessories can pay major dividends in getting the most from your turntable in sound terms. Now, there's quite a variety of platter mats currently occupying the market, and at a variety of price points as well. So, for example, Pro-Ject's Cork It fetches a very reasonable £18–19 or so. Origin Live has a very nice mat indeed, rather more intricate, and that costs a bit more at around £40. There's also mats made from leather, okay, but not my favourite. And there's a butyl rubber sheet from a Japanese company called Oyadi, which is well worth a look at £90. The latter is a rare exception of a platter mat tipping over the £50 mark. In fact, the latter was the only one I had previously seen. The Yellow Bird from Hexmat, as you know, tops even that figure. Now, my friend Zolt from Hungary, well, he's made a point of studying vibrations and high frequency noise in and around the turntable, and he's developed his own philosophies to tackle them. For vinyl records, he said, and I quote, I tried to get the size of the contact surfaces close to zero. The total contact surface of a record is several decimeters square. Using the Hexmat isolator, which is how he refers to the mat, this surface is close to zero, just 1 to 2 square millimeters, and the disc in effect is almost floating. So with its internal structure and coating, the Hexmat isolator isolates. As Zolt says, the Hexmat isolator is a clamping mechanism that separates the record from the vibrating mass it contacts and allows the vinyl to have its own fairly good damping properties. One of the benefits of this system is, according to Zolt, less noise due to more accurate groove tracking. And our Zolt has been pretty busy, actually. He's been testing a whole number of materials when he was creating this mat. From what I hear, he tested over 100 different materials, and they include a variety of polymers, stabilized wood species, tropical tree pieces, industrial metals, ceramics, gold, silver, crystals, gemstones, various coatings, and apparently many more besides. As Zolt says, during this time we have experienced what works, what does not, and how to produce it. The range of variations is almost inexhaustible because the combination of materials used has a dramatic impact on sound. We are planning to release several more variants. Our current product is a first series entry-level device, so expect more mats and expect a higher price for those new mats. I personally can't wait to see what he comes up with next. Now, as you can see by the images, this is a hexagonal mat and it's occupied by a number of tiny blisters on the top and the lower surface. So the lower blisters lifts the mat away from the platter, the upper blisters lifts the vinyl away from the mat. Hence the vinyl is isolated in effect. Now, there are a number of design elements within the Hexmat which are unique to the Hexmat, I would suppose, and I did try and find out a little bit more about the technologies and the techniques used in creating the Hexmat, but I wasn't told anything, and I can understand why, because if you reveal everything about your product, you're going to kill it stone dead, because the competition are going to see all that and they're going to copy you, and all of a sudden you're irrelevant and you're out of business. So I can understand that. So let's leave our Zolt with a few secrets of his own. What I can tell you is that this yellow hexagon is made from a sort of hard plasticky material. It's coated with tiny blisters on the top and tiny blisters at the bottom, and because of that, in effect, this mat is 3 millimeters high if you add the central plastic and the 2 sets of upper and lower blisters. If you add all those together, you're looking at around 3 millimeters. Because you're looking at 3 millimeters, it depends on your turntable, of course, but you may have to raise the height of your tone arm by a touch just to level the tone arm itself. Now, as I say, this depends on your turntable. You might already be using a rather thick platter mat, and so the Hexmat might just be a straight swap. So if you do buy yourself a Hexmat, just check the thickness of your current mat and work it out from there. So if your current mat is 1 millimeter thick, then you're going to be 2 millimeters out. So you're going to have to raise your arm, and hopefully you can raise your arm by an extra 2 millimeters to compensate. It depends on your current situation. It depends on your mat. And also, obviously, it depends whether you can lift or lower your tone arm in the first place. For those who can't change the height of their arm, I might give the Hexmat a bit of a miss. For everyone else, well, let's see how the Hexmat sounds. I began with the 4 Freshmans, a Today Kind of Thing, a 4-piece vocal harmony combo backed by an orchestra, and the track Bird Avenue, a short yet bouncy and energetic song. The four singers front a varied backing band stuffed with varying instruments, from a Doors type organ to glockenspiel, a string section and electric guitar. Keeping a track on the instruments, which tend to sit behind the voices in the mix, is tough because of their position, but also because it's easy for the hi-fi in question to blur the edges between each. With the Hexmat in place, the sonic response was intriguing indeed. I considered this test a tough one because I already have the wholly excellent Origin Live mat in place, and I've used that for some time now. It's a simple looking mat, but uses some exotic materials within. I've had no cause to doubt it, but this admittedly more expensive Hexmat added something to the Four Freshmen's track here. What I was getting was a lowering of noise. Noise, I thought, had already been removed, but no, there was a definite lowering of noise, and with that, greater air and space in the mid-range, which encouraged new focus in the vocal presentation. The harmony effect seemed tighter, integrated and slender. That is, there was no floaty bass bits hanging off it. The vocal harmony seemed smooth and flowed very easily. Then a band of silence appeared underneath, and then the instruments appeared after that. Again, focus was the thing, along with the lowering of noise, which encouraged the rather shy gamut of instruments to pop their head further out of the mix, but in a naturalistic manner. There was never any sense of false focus here, no smearing of the treble or upper mids. Everything felt very natural and at ease. Music flowed across the soundstage with a complete lack of friction. So does this mean my Origin mat is completely terrible and worthless? Well, absolutely not. The Origin mat is a superb accessory, and let's not forget, it's only £40. Now you'd expect the Hexmat to be better at almost 3 times the price. But that doesn't always work in hi-fi. That doesn't always happen. But here, the Hexmat was offering real sonic improvements. Moving to rock now, I tried We Will Be Strong from Thin Lizzy, full of big, heavy percussive strikes, slashing guitars, steady bass guitar. It's a solid rocker. With the Hexmat in place, the bass honed up tremendously. The new focus meant more impact and drive to the track as a whole. There was weight behind each percussive impact. Each time the drum was hit, it stayed hit. It wasn't getting up again, it was out for the count. The band's twin guitar effect was also interesting. Their sound had extra bite, like a knife that had been newly sharpened. The guitars cut through the air with a finer slice, adding to their slashing effect in the song. One new element that I was now aware of were cymbal splashes. I'm sure that they were there before, but they were more noticeable now. Vocal harmonies sounded dense and compact with a precision that gave the delivery new weight and added emotion and insight when certain words were stressed. Now, despite the relatively high price, what the Hexmat Yellowbird basically did was clean your music. It added a greater sense of clarity. The effect smoothed the upper mids towards your ears, added precision to treble and tonal accuracy to bass. For jazz, this included an intriguing analytical sense to the accuracy of the presentation. The reduction of noise and the added precision that reflected that also added bass impact and weight, giving rock movement a sense of power, while rock vocals created a whole new sense of urgency. Now look, I was well prepared to be completely underwhelmed by the Hexmat Yellowbird. How wrong I was. This, my friends, is a little cracker. And that's me done. Thank you very much for staying with me until the end of the video. Thank you too for subscribing. It's much appreciated. I will hopefully see you on the next video. Hopefully you can join me. Until then, bye bye for now.